going to have a look at the remainder of the transform section of the Home tab. So group by. Suppose we have this CD name that we have created by splitting this path down. And we wanted to see how many titles there were for each particular CD name. Now you might be saying to me, well actually what you should be doing is something similar to this. Actually give it as an end visualization. So let's put say open in, which is always going to be there, and we need to apply the changes. And so we can see here is the results that we want. And actually, I would generally tend to agree with you. This sort of summarization that the group by offers generally should be done as the final step. What we'll try to do here in the Power Query editor is get our data into a format where we can use it well. So what we're going to do in a few videos' time is have a look at a more practical example of this group by. For instance, I might say, okay, out of the number of bytes which are available in CD name, what percentage is occupied by each individual one? So, for instance, for all of these 12 items, we have a number of bytes. What percentage is that over the entirety of this particular CD? And that might be a useful thing that we can do at a line item, a raw level. So let's just have a look at this in isolation, and in a future video we will be able to combine this with other functions that we're looking at. So I'm going to group by the CD name. So let's just click on the group by, and it says group by CD name. Obviously this is where you can change it here. And what do I want to do? Well, I want the total number of bytes. So there's my size, so I'll call this total bytes, and click OK. And what happens is that our table is now replaced with this grouped table. So remember, just like filtering, I can't go back a step and still have this. So I can delete this existing step, I can go back to previous steps to see what happens, but our end data now is this grouped data. Now let's just have a look at the dialog box. This is basic. We do have an advanced version because it might be that you want additional groupings. So do it by type of music by CD name, for instance. So maybe you want all the classicals to be grouped together and within that the CD names. And maybe you want additional aggregations. So you can see what aggregations we've got: sum, average, median, min-max, count rows, count distinct rows. That means that it removes in the count duplicates. So the count of AAABB is 5. The count distinct is 2 because there's only A and B. And then finally there's count the number of rows that there are. Notice there's this little dot that appears. You can see what it does. You can move things down and up when you've got multiple columns. So that's the grouped rows. Data type. So this is saying, well, a particular column is decimal, whole number, percentage, something to do with date and time, text, true or false, also called Boolean, and some binary data, which we generally don't need to use in this version of the data that we have. Now, the important thing about this is if you have the wrong data type to a particular column, then the computer will be interpreting it wrongly. So later on, we're going to be looking at an example where the computer is going to import date data from a text file, but it's going to be in the wrong format, and it's going to interpret it wrongly. And so what we need to do is, instead of having a computer auto-convert it into a date, we need to convert it into a text, and then we can use date functions to get it to interpret correctly. So usually what the computer decides is fairly good, but we saw much earlier on how when we had the wrong number of, well, 0 top rows removed, that it was getting bad data types. If I just show you it again from the very beginning and open up the CD's query and allow the computer to do its thing from the very beginning, you will see that when we get to this number, it's actually giving it as a whole number, so this is 1, 2, 3, and text. And I don't really know that that's the best solution for the computer. If we go into the transform, you can see that the number column, we can't use any of these functions in the number column, but we can use all of these in the text. So while it's saying ABC123 is a number and a text field, it is really treating it as text. And if you look at the M language for this change type, it's saying type any. In other words, it doesn't know what the type is, and it's just saying it could be one of many things, and to give you a clue. Now let's go back to our real query, and you can see that the computer has intelligently put particular types. It's given this number, this column, as a whole number type, and if I go to transform it, you can see that the whole array of number column functions is available. It said that this is text. Over here it said that this is a date time field. And because of that, very little is available in the text column. There's some, but not others. But most importantly, the date and time column functions are available. So if the computer has got the wrong date time, you should correct it at the earliest opportunity, even if that means deleting some steps. Now, replace values, that, as you can see, replaces existing values with new values. So suppose we go back to our folder path, and we've got some V colon. Maybe we've got some others there as well. Well, suppose it's no longer my V drive. Suppose it's my U drive. Well, I can replace the values with find V colon and replace it with U colon. So you can match the entire cell contents, and if you wish, you can also use special characters, just like you can do in the advanced version in Microsoft Word. So if I do this, you'll see that all of the V colons have been replaced by U colons. This could be quite useful if, for instance, we had some CDs on one computer, some CDs on another computer, and it was getting information from two different places, and we wanted to unite it into the one set of data with the one set of real data. So U colons, for instance, we wanted to map it to the exact same place. Now, one final thing about data types, make sure that you have a valid data type. Suppose I try to change this size from a number to date time. The computer is not going to have a really good time of doing this, and you can see lots of errors. Sometimes these errors might be good. The computer is saying, you know, I can't do it, and maybe these are data that isn't really what you want. Maybe you have got a huge report which is divided up into sections with headings and so forth, and you just wanted to keep the numbers. Well, what you could do is remove the rows that contain errors in this particular column, and then you would have the right set of data. So errors aren't always bad. It's just indicating that there was a problem with probably a conversion earlier on. So in this video, we had to look at group by, how to replace your existing table with an analysis. Again, not generally recommended in the Power Query editor, though we will be seeing an instance of how we can use it later on. We also saw how you can replace data types and how you can replace